Okay, well, the story goes back to probably mid to late 70s, and it was one of our youth conferences, and our bishop at that time, a very respected and elderly gentleman, Archbishop Theodosi, he sat there patiently listening to a talk on marriage given by one of the youth, who of course had no experience in marriage at all. So it was all theory. So he sat there patiently and humbly. Afterwards he said, "Well, if you don't mind, I'd just like to add a little bit to what was said by the speaker." And he said, "Look, I'd just like to comment on one of the last parts of the Orthodox marriage ceremony, and that's when the priest takes the couple in a round procession. That's in honor of the Trinity, of course, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Fine." He says, "I'd like to share with you my thoughts about what each one of those circuits means." He says, "I think they speak about a development of the relationship in the marriage." He says, because during the first circuit, the choir sings the first of the hymns, which begins with the words, "I sigh, rejoice." So this is stage one. And almost every marriage has a good stage one. The rocket takes off. Zoom. All right? There's a lot of that, obviously, what you were talking about, Helen, Eros there, that makes it happen typically. It's the honeymoon, all right? It's the honeymoon part of the marriage. Things are easy because, well, there are lots of God-given energies to make it happen in the first stage. But he said, first stage is joyful. It's not very deep. Not very deep, like emotionally or spiritually. He says, after a while, stage two comes along. All right? And in the wedding ceremony, the hymn there begins with the words, "O holy martyrs." Right? So, yes, he said, it's a testing time, stage two, because after the party's over in stage one, the couple realize, wow, there's responsibility, there's work to do. My gosh, how are we going to do it? And trials and tribulations begin. But he said, in fact, this is the most creative and interesting part of the marriage. It's just that a lot of people don't know how to handle it. That's the problem. Because they have no idea what they're supposed to be doing in that stage, right? And no principle, whether spiritual or ethical, whatever, anything. So, it becomes a tug of war often. Right, but he said in a Christian marriage, it is truly a creative stage. This is when, and I thought to myself, sitting there, being sort of musically inclined, I thought, oh, it's ABA, sonata form, that's what it is. It's a development of a theme. Okay, the theme is introduced in stage one, developed in B, and then comes back to A. And that's what he basically said, because he said the third circuit begins with the words, "Glory to thee, O Christ God." So it's, saying thank you to God for a successful marriage and for a proper development, after the takeoff, and growth, so that the autumn of a couple's life is a joyful one, but it's a quiet joy, but it's like a good mature wine. That's what it's like. So it's not, the bubbly at the beginning. Yes, there's a psychological and spiritual development. There's an understanding, and it's not like I believe some say that when couples are young, they argue because they don't know each other. When they're old, they argue because they know each other too much. Well, it shouldn't be like that. So I thought, well, it's a really good model, a really good explanation of that part of the service, the wedding service, and so it made it so meaningful for me when I was young myself.